now, we take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. First off, members of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, met with President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa ahead of their planned nationwide protest over worsening security. The meeting included the Labour Minister and governors from Imo, Edo and Plateau states. NLC President Joe Ajaero described the talks as a consultation, saying discussions are still under review and stopping short of confirming if the Wednesday protest will proceed. Governor Hope Uzodinma and the Minister of State for Labour echoed that clarity on outcomes will emerge in due course, noting the NLC was satisfied with the meeting. The protest was initially planned to highlight insecurity affecting workers and communities, citing incidents like teacher killings and child kidnappings in Kebbi, which the NLC says threatens public safety and social cohesion.
We came for consultation with the president and we have finished. So we'll have to go back to our meeting and then continue tomorrow. By tomorrow, we will get the outcome. If I'm insisting or I'm not insisting, I will communicate to you. It's not an organization that one person rules. Let's go back. Now you have a meeting of Labour and the Governors Forum. We'll go back to the drawing board and digest all that Mr. President said to us. And move forward from there.
Consultation is going on. We were dialoguing. Like he said, at the end of the day, you know what you are supposed to know and what you want to know. So we are here to serve the country. Both the Labour, the government and the governed. We're all working service to the nation.
Citizens who are also members of NLC wanted to see Mr. President, and they've seen Mr. President. And of course, you know, they are happy they've seen Mr. President and they've had firsthand that at least the president has driven the economy out of the woods. So it's a very good news.
Well, in other news, the Cessna 172 aircraft operated by Sky Power Express crashed on Tuesday evening at Sam Mbakwe International Cargo Airport, Owerri, Imo State. The incident prompted an immediate response from airport emergency services, who were on the scene to contain the situation and provide assistance.
Easy. Go easy. Small.
Well, in other news, Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, has escalated his dispute to the chief executive of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Farouk Ahmed. Dangote, through his lawyer, Ogu Onoja, has formally submitted a petition to the Anti-Corruption Agency, the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, accusing Farouk Ahmed of corruption and financial impropriety. The petition alleges that Ahmed spent over $7 million on the education of his 4 children in Switzerland, an amount Dangote claims is grossly inconsistent with the legitimate earnings of a public servant. Dangote further alleges that the funds were diverted from public resources, accusing the NMDPRA boss of using his office as a vehicle for embezzlement and corrupt enrichment. He's calling on the ICPC to arrest, investigate and prosecute Farouk Ahmed for abuse of office, corruption and breach of the Code of Conduct for public officers.
We have no choice than to formally present a petition against him. We have evidence. The petition has already been submitted and acknowledged by the ICPC. You can see it from here. Now, we attach evidence of monies that are being expended as school fees for his children in excess of $7 million annually. And we wonder, a civil servant in Nigeria, where he gets that kind of money to pay school fees alone and other logistics, this is on behalf of his children. So we have the right as taxpayers, our client has the right as a taxpayer to present this petition against these excesses of a public officer. It's for the commission to investigate And if they found that a prima facie case has been established against the said engineer Farouk Ahmed, the formal prosecution will be taken up against him, and the law will take its course.
Well, a statement attributed to Farouk Ahmed in response to the recent allegations has been disowned. He said the purported response did not emanate from him. He acknowledged awareness of the allegations and the public reaction, but said he had chosen not to engage publicly, stating, and I quote, "While I'm aware of the wild and spurious allegations made against me and my family and the frenzy it has generated as a regulator of a sensitive industry, I have opted not to engage in public brickbat." End of quote. He added that the matter has been taken to a formal investigative institution, which he said would allow for an objective review of the issues and provide an opportunity to clear his name. Well, moving on, the Nigerian Bar Association is raising alarm over the decision of the Nigeria police to resume enforcement of the controversial tinted glass permits policy from January 2, 2026. At a media briefing in Abuja, NBA President Afam Osigwe described the move as a grave affront to the authority of the courts and a violation of the rule of law.
Give an undertaking that the police will not do anything. And that is a judicial undertaking that a counsel has done on behalf of his person. And the court noted that, and it has effect of an order of courts. When you say we will not take any steps, and indeed, even in the absence of that, when we are challenging such a policy, the normal thing will be for the police to respect the judicial proceedings and allow a judicial pronouncement to be made on the matter. You cannot pretend to be fighting security when in actual fact you're only interested in the money you collect from people. And like we said to the IG, if he says it's about security, nobody is checking anything. Once you upload the documents and make the payment, they issue it to you. So you know who is fooling who? It's a scam. And we should call it out for what it is. How did they arrive at the choice of that company? What is the company doing for them? How is this money being shared? Why is the money being paid into a private account? How did we get there?
There is no clear-cut order. There is no court order at all restraining the police from enforcing this. And since the case is still ongoing, and in that period, this is causing more criminality, we will do the right thing to start enforcing this permit policy until the court case can be concluded. It went through all the necessary processes. Every single step that needs to be done was fulfilled. In fact, you would see that the website is a government website. It is posap.gov.ng. If something was illegal, trust me, it wouldn't have a .gov.ng extension.
All right. Well, moving on. An uneasy calm prevails in Minna, the Niger State capital, after the release of 100 school children abducted from St. Mary's Catholic Secondary School, Agwara local government area. All schools remain closed and security services are giving assurances that the rest of the captives will soon regain their freedom. There was a restriction of movement for commercial tricycles and motorcycles in the state capital from 8 p.m. till dawn.
We wish to recover the remaining students that are still in captivity, and by the grace of God, in a very short time from now, we're going to recover them, inshallah.
With the assistance of the Office of the National Security Advisor, who coordinate the whole operation, and were able to so far rescue about 100 students of St. Mary Catholic Primary and Secondary School. And we are still, our boys, all our assets, the one that the Inspector General of Police sent to me, the IRT, the SIS, the SWAT, and the mobile units also, and we are working very well. And by the grace of God, very soon, we are going to rescue the rest of the students.
Nobody will hope to see his children at home, not going to school. No, it's hazardous. It's not good like that.
Most parents did not plan for this for now, because everybody have the mind that by the end of November, December, children will have taken their vacation, relaxing. But this very one just came in unprompted.
Most of these crimes, they are committed mostly at night. and they use this kidnapping to facilitate the commission of those crimes. The security now have the field that at night to go around and do patrol. So any kidnapper we saw that time, we know is a criminal. We'll arrest him and bring him and charge him.
What we're praying for and trusting God, we should just have the children back. Let's be that we're having this as our Christmas.
Well, let's cross live now to Minna, the Niger State capital, where Arise senior correspondent Charles Eruka joins us now. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning.
All right. Thank you for joining us today. So, first question, has there been any new development since the release of the first batch of children abducted from St. Mary's Catholic School, Papiri?
Not from the perspective of the abducted children, because apparently the security forces are not divulging any information about that matter. Maybe for good reason, because as far as they are concerned, making information like that public knowledge might jeopardize the delicate nature of the operations to secure the release of the remaining captives. So from that end, we have not had any new information other than assurances that within the soonest possible time, the remaining hostages would have secured their release. On the other hand, the governor has said he wasn't going to say anything more on that matter because he is not satisfied that only 100 have been released. That it will be a thing of celebration for him when all the remaining hostages in captivity regain their freedom. So from the point of view of the captives, nothing new, because the security forces are actually quiet on that for the moment.
All right. So what's the mood like in Minna, Charles? And, what are the efforts, being made to recover, the rest people there? And have you been able to speak to any of the parents in the first place? That's my priority, because it looks as though the parents are not even part of all of this going on. And have they returned those that they released initially to their parents?
Okay, let me start from the point of view of the parents. St. Mary's Catholic School, Papiri, in Agara local government area, is about 4 hours or more away from Minna. The terrain is very rugged, the roads are not in shape, so from Minna to Agara is a bit of a distance. The school is located in Papiri community, so it is actually meant to serve that community, which is very, very remote from Minna, the Niger State capital, where we are at the moment. So it's been a bit of a challenge getting through to any of the parents, because they are pretty far away from Minna. And then for the other parents, not necessarily of the children in captivity, they are actually empathetic about the situation, because every parent in Minna I've spoken to feels the pinch. They feel that what if it were their own kids? How would they be feeling? It's approaching the festive season, and then the fact or the feeling that your child is in captivity, suffering, doesn't sit down with any parent at all. So for the parents that we have been able to access, not of the children in captivity, they are also feeling that anguish. As for the mood in the state capital, it's that of cautious optimism. Remember, there is some sort of uneasy calm here as a result of what happened out there in Papiri. It appears as if on the surface life has returned to normal, but beneath that normalcy lies that sense of anticipation that hopefully the children in captivity will be returned to their parents, and the teachers also would regain their freedom. That is when the people of Niger State would really heave a sigh of relief. Now, as far as the security angle is concerned, most of what we get is coordination from the Office of the National Security Advisor coordination of the police, the army, the Air Force, and of course the intelligence services, the Department of State Services, so that it's a synergy between the security forces and the intelligence services to ensure that proactive measures are taken to gain freedom for the remaining hostages in captivity. That's the situation at the moment.
Okay, but let me ask you, what efforts have the security forces said they are making to ensure the release of the remaining children and teachers in captivity? Because this is the big issue. And people are saying, yes, you have released 50, 100, or secured their release, or they have escaped. How about the people who are remaining in captivity?
So first of all, there's the intelligence side of it. What they are saying is that the Department of State Services and other intelligence services are working on actionable intelligence, which would now be passed on to the other security services, including the police, the army, and the NSCDC, the Civil Defense Corps, because these are the boots on the ground. But as far as the specifics are concerned, they definitely will not be telling anybody that. That exactly is the situation as far as the efforts are concerned. They are saying it's a top secret operation being coordinated from the Office of the National Security Advisor, but I assure you they are not going to be telling us anything about the specifics.
All right, well, thanks very much for the update, Charles. Charles, what we're looking forward to is to have the rest of the children and the teachers who are still in captivity back home, and hopefully before Christmas. And thank you for investigating, and we keep on raising awareness around this. Thank you. Hope to chat with you soon with good news. All right, let's move on to other stories this morning. The inaugural Uncle Sam art exhibition, titled The Beginning, has been launched in Lagos. The exhibition is to honor the legacy of veteran news publisher and art collector Sam Amuka. The media-centric exhibition showcases rare archival materials, early editions of Vanguard newspapers, and specially commissioned artworks that tell years of visual story of resilience, vision, and growth. According to the organizers, the exhibition underscores Amuka's pioneering role in introducing cartoons and fine art into Nigerian newspaper pages, and his unwavering commitment to building a formidable private art collection.
For art lovers and for us as journalists, one, you saw the first edition of Vanguard compared to today's edition, and the legends behind it. The first editor of Vanguard, and I'm the current editor. That's profound. And the man who created the paper, Uncle Sam, who is our publisher, is also alive. And the legends here, and the work of us here speaks to one, longevity, talent, creativity, and the sounding message to the country that work of art cannot die. Art is life. Art tells Nigeria's story in a very significant and profound way.
I think that anyone who has followed Uncle Sam's career, both as a journalist and as a collector of artworks, will not be surprised at what you're saying here. I've followed his works for many years. But you can also see that in his work as a journalist, you can see the aspects of him as an artist in his work. So clearly, I'm not surprised at what we're saying here.
I've seen some collection that dates back 1960s here. And also, I think the biggest collection is pretty much the Vanguard Red Book, which was the very first edition ever on the 10th of June. If my memory serves me right, I think it started as a weekend paper first, but I think that was maybe first week paper or weekend paper, I don't know. But it just shows the rich history and the historical antecedents and what Uncle Sam stands for. Only recently we celebrated Uncle Sam at his 90s. It just shows that they were pioneers, that keep blazing the trail and that keep doing very well for all of us.
The Tourist Club International, of which Uncle Sam is the grand patron, decided to have an exhibition that will showcase his collections because he is an art collector.
And he is also the person that brought cartoons and art into the newspaper. If you want to start something, if you want to begin something, the beginning. If you want to begin something, don't wait for a perfect time. There's no perfect time. Start. As time goes on, perfection, the thing will continue to, get better and better and better.
All right. Rufai, that must have been an exhibition, I'm sure. Very informative, based on the storytelling from Pastor Amuka, the legend. He's with the Vanguard newspaper. I'd love to get your thoughts being as you were present at that event. But also beyond that, in the news this morning, we have stories around the NLC strike. Is it still on today? Did that meeting with the government produce any results to shelve the strike or postpone, at least? And then, of course, the tinted glasses, the police saying that they're going to enforce from January 2nd, 2026. And amidst other stories in security, we had Charles on the show earlier on just talking about the update with the school children and teachers in Minna.
I mean, while we celebrate the release of the school children in Minna, church members have been kidnapped also. Again, recently, I think around Kogi.
Yeah, in Kogi State.
So the kidnapping goes on. So when are those ones going to come back home? Who is going to negotiate with those set of bandits? While all of this is going on, Reverend Archie's wife is still there in captivity. Please, the government can do everything to release them. It just shows the state of insecurity. And it segues into the reason why NLC wants to go on strike. Although, for me, I think NLC had lost it long ago because the time they ought to go on strike, they didn't stamp their feet on the ground. When the government told them they were going to make the refineries work, the refineries have not worked today. NLC didn't do anything about them. In fact, some people have said they've even sowed the seed of enmity amongst NLC, so they keep going at each other. Also, the insecurity is the reason why they want to go on strike. I mean, we're not all facing the insecurity. Because of that now, we don't all have entry into America, except those with a diplomatic passport and those with green card. But I think if America truly wanted to get effect and they cared so much about our security, I think it's those that have diplomatic passport that should be affected.
They already gave the restrictions, remember,
Yeah.
earlier on.
Yeah, so I think a lot of them should be affected because those are the real decision makers. For you to hold a diplomatic passport in this country, you hold a decision. So they talked about Boko Haram and all of that. Yes, we can also bring in a sense of nationalism and say, okay, they should go and hold their country, Nigeria first and all of that. But the question is, in as much as we can cast aspersions at Trump and other things that he's doing that is not good enough, can't we solve our problems within? It's obvious we are not ready to solve them. How do I know? The way at which we are going at it. Till date, we are bringing back students, but we are not showing that we are killing and tackling these people that perpetrated this crime. We are not showing it as a sample. The question you should ask is, what happened to Nigeria? Is this not this Nigeria that a president once said, give me Anini? And he brought Anini out, despite how ruthless Anini was. And they brought a stop to it. Is this not the same country? Is this not the same country that took ECOMOG to go fight and paid for the war, a sizable portion of the war? So why can't we stop this internally? We can't stop it internally because there's a lot of complicity across board. And when there's a lot of complicity, we can't solve those problems. And this permeates to every angle. Look at the police, a subsisting court order is there of a Warri Federal High Court. And the police brazenly announced a violation of the court order. The court said Menton State to school on this tinted permit matter. Is it that it's the money from the tinted permit that is so sweet that they want to collect? I mean, because when you look at it, I have collected the tinted permits. But when you look at it, what is there? The nomenclature of your car and all that. And so what is there? Is it that you have to renew every year? So the question is, why are you renewing? So that means it's the money that you want to collect. So it's the money that you want to collect from the tinted permit is so brazen that you can effectively violate a court order. And that's why MBA is talking now. And so when Dr. Abati comes and quotes the Constitution, like I was joking with you this morning, you can see that in this country, with the kind of Constitution we have, we're laughing, that's the clear case that happens in this country. People don't respect the laws of the land.
What does that mean?
It is a mad behavior. You used to watch mad behavior. That's why you see the last court that people respect is the court of public opinion. And that's why every Nigerian is always coming to the media to say, please save me. You know why? Because there is no hope for the common man. I mean, just look at the clear violation. Is it not the same judiciary that a Supreme Court gave a ruling yesterday that we're finding loopholes here and there in the ruling? I mean, is this not the same court the likes of them Justice Chukwudifo put us at? So let's stop deceiving ourselves. In fact, when you say the rule of law in the country, the rule of law is selective. Because some people can select to hear. This was the same police, Ayo, that stopped the enforcement because of the court order in the first place.
So what changed?
Because people have thought about it and they say you can, flagrantly disobey the court order and all of that. Again, the story of Farouk and Aliko Dangote. The disclaimer they say Farouk issued is not from Farouk. They have come out openly. In fact, I got a message also from somebody, high up there this morning that said he has come out and said he didn't issue such a disclaimer. He said as a regulator is going to exercise restraint and is going to allow the course of things take over.
So he didn't say either one. He didn't respond. He didn't give the disclaimer.
No, the response that the person sent to me, if because of time I will have read it out.
Okay.
He was just pretty much saying that the initial disclaimer and the bullet points and the long-winded statement that they said he wrote, he didn't write that. Yeah. But he just said he will allow the course of things. And I think investigations should begin. And let's see how all of this pans out and let's come to the end. As regards Uncle Sam, I mean, you can't write the story of the history of journalism without mentioning the likes of Sam Amuka in this country. Because it's not, Uncle Sam Amuka is not just about The Guardian. He was part of those that co-founded Punch. Things didn't go his way, then he went to start The Guardian. So this is somebody that the two key top traditional newspapers in this country, he had a thing with their foundation. And God has blessed him with long life. And apart from that, I've not verified the fact, but he said he's one of the earliest collectors of Nigerian art. I saw some work from a Nigerian artist called, I think, CCW, that dates back to 1961.
All right.
And that's how the span of Dr. Pastor Amuka has been collecting. So, I mean, kudos to him.
All right.
Okay, let me speak first on what I consider the most important topic of this morning on this channel, which is the celebration of Sam Amuka Pemo, who is 96. Now, in this profession, we often underplay ourselves. The Nigerian media is very guilty of the error of celebrating charlatans, complete imbeciles, maybe for commercial reasons, maybe for sycophantic reasons. We hardly celebrate ourselves. And I think the celebration of Pa Sam Amuka Pemo, it's a good thing. Perhaps there's this realization within the media space that journalists also have to be celebrated. Now, Mr. Sam Amuka Pemo, otherwise known as Sad Sam, now a happy Sam, when he looks at the children that he has produced, is a living deity of Nigerian journalism. Many of these younger people who just stumbled into the profession may not know how important he is. Now, he was editor of The Spear, and then subsequently he became editor, I think, was it of the Sunday Times?
Yeah, it was editor of Sunday Times.
And then from there, he became one of the founders, or the main founder, or the co-founder of the Punch newspapers in 1973. Now, when I joined The Guardian years ago, I don't want to intimidate you with the number of years, we were not reading Punch. But under Sam Amuka Pemo, Punch became a readable paper. And then, of course, after that, that paper further succeeded after, the family took over. But in 1985, issues between him and his friend, the original founder, Mr. Chief Abodere, led him to found Vanguard. And Vanguard also became a major newspaper. Now, Vanguard, as chairman editorial board of The Guardian at a time, we were not reading Vanguard because Vanguard was pro-women. Vanguard was, they had something they call page 3, where they put pretty girls. But
and you're not reading it for that?
No. The Guardian was an intellectual newspaper,
yeah.
Targeting policymakers and the intellectual community.
Really? For somebody that wrote in English.
But Yeah. But that was the policy of the newspaper.
Yeah.
But then Vanguard grew. He built that newspaper into an institution over the years. And it became a flourishing space for another generation of journalists. Frank Aigbogun is a very prominent example. There are also other examples who flourished under that banner. And then, of course, today, it is good to see that he's been celebrated. Another person I was trying to remember his name is Mr. Muyiwa Adetiba, who is also another major icon in this profession, the first editor of Vanguard. And today that newspaper has moved into, a very reputable newspaper. Tribute to Mr. Amuka Kwemu's resilience, dedication, hard work, large-heartedness, and all of that. So yesterday, they were celebrating, he was the first to introduce cartoonists and all of that. Whatever they say in honor of Mr. Sam Amuka Kwemu is very important. We have icons in this profession. One of the things, the dangers, the trouble that has happened in this profession in Nigeria is that people don't respect the people that came before. Look, apart from Mr. Amuka Kwemu, that I say is a living deity, you also have Chief Segun Oshoba. You also have the Newswatch troop. One of them, died, Mr. Daniel Gbese, a very distinguished, royalist journalist, royalist in the sense that he was an aristocrat of the profession in terms of his talent. And then, of course, you have Mr. Riepu, you have Mr. Yakubu Muhammad, you also have, a lot of people in that particular category. So the celebration of a journalistic icon, I think, is a very good development. And I hope that that tradition will continue and that the younger generation will have the humility and the brain to learn. Because at our time, we look up to these people, we learn from them, and these are icons that will be there forever when the history of Nigeria is written. So congratulations to Mr. Amuka Kwemu, Sasam, now Apisam. Now, to the Aliko Dangote story and Farouk Ahmed. Yesterday, I said this is a fight between industry and the regulator. Now, regulation is always an issue, not just in Nigeria, but also elsewhere. Regulatory compliance is always something, that brings up issues. So, but it's also about power. Power in the sense that what you are going to see going forward is a struggle for survival. You have industry represented by the Dangote refinery on one side says, don't import materials. You don't even have laboratory to prove quality. You are sabotaging the Nigerian public. Dangote refinery is here. We can provide better services. The regulator, we are told, is guilty of not bringing things in. These are the fundamental things. So there is a struggle for survival. Number 3 is that the public has the right to know. In fact, I think at the end of the day, there will be a lot that will be revealed in terms of transparency and accountability. Is the NMDPRA, is it capable? Is he doing his job? Is it up to his task? The other leg of it is the personal one, the accusation that as a public officer, Farouk Ahmed has been punching above his means. Well, I think, you can say this for many other public officials in terms of how they live above their means. But the good news here is that the ICPC is now saying that they will investigate.
Yes.
Now, that investigation, we hope it will be fair, it will be transparent, it will be, what's that word we use around this space? It will be balanced. And then at the end of the day, public interest will be the most paramount thing. Not vendetta, not, taking sides. And also the House of Reps is also saying it will look into this matter. I think at the end of the day, we the people will be better informed. So this is not a matter that should be swept under the market. The focus should be on public interest. Finally, the NLC meeting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and they are saying, there is insecurity, they will go on strike. They are supposed to go on strike today. I think that the engagement is important, and I also think that it is good that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is handling the matter personally. Otherwise, if you leave it to the Ministry of Labour, although Honorable Nkuruka, Onyejocha was part of the meeting. Yeah. Other stakeholders were part of the meeting. But the president handling the meeting himself and personally, I think that for me, that is what is important. But you cannot run away from the fact, apart from the side issues, that there is insecurity in Nigeria. Yeah. And Labour can claim that it has a legitimate right to ask for an explanation and to protest, because its workers and families are involved in this crisis that we all face.
All right, let me start with insecurity then, since you've ended on that note. And that is just to raise the awareness. So again, interestingly that we spoke to Charles Amuka this morning in Mina, Niger State, just to raise that we should not go to bed yet and forget our young Nigerians who are still in captivity. Recall that when the abductors came, they took away children as young as being in nursery school, in primary school, in Papiri Mina, Niger State. And it is important that in this the festivity of things, we don't forget that we still have young children in captivity. Only 100 out of about 265 in total that were taken. It means that there are more people still in captivity than are out at the moment. And so this is just a wake-up call for the government that whatever it was that they did to release the 100 abductees, the 100 children, 50 of them had escaped earlier on, 100 now released. Whatever it was done, can the children come home first? And then we can continue to talk about accountability, what modus operandi was used, because if it worked in the past, let them just get these young Nigerians out. Like some people have said, may this not be another case of the abducted Chibok girls, whereby we had years of, bring back our girls, campaigns being done, and sadly, not all of them have been released today. God forbid that should happen again now. And so this is just to mention, and at time that with the Nigerian Labour Congress now saying that they want to embark on a strike in light of the insecurity, I would ask the question, it's taking them so long, because when we look at the impact of insecurity on labour and productivity, it's quite significant. Only, I think it was in November, we talked about the 6 directors from the Ministry of Defence who had gone for a promotional exam and they were abducted. Now, 4 of them had been released following payment of ransom. 2 of them were still in captivity as at the last information that was released. So you can understand how some schools are afraid, teachers are afraid to go to work, to go to school. People who are going on trips, business trips, are rethinking it. You can imagine the cost on businesses as whereby you could drive or take, or travel by road. You're not considering going by air, the cost of airfare tickets. So there is a real cost to the industry. Therefore, they have that locus to say that, you know what, we cannot take this any longer. We have to declare a state of emergency, which the president has done, on insecurity, and we must act to protect the lives and properties of our members. And so they're well within their rights. But another question would be then that the previous strike actions that have taken place by the NLC, to what extent? I don't want to devalue the importance of strike actions, because it's a tool used for, used by pressure groups like the NLC to make a statement, to get the attention of the government. But we also want to ensure that when they go to the negotiation table, they're able to speak and stick and stay the course to ensure that at the end of the day, it's in the interest of the Nigerian people. There are a number of things that we're still talking about with regards to how they have negotiated in the past. The minimum wage conversation is still on the table. That hasn't yet been resolved. Rufai, you cited the issue of the refineries not still working. So there's still a bit of conversations left unfinished with the Nigerian Labour Congress and the government. But I'm hoping that in this time it will be productive, so that we don't waste people's time going on strikes, losing more money and still not achieving a lot of things. But we have our correspondents on ground, and hopefully in the course of today's show, we will be bringing you updates on whether or not the strike action will proceed and how successful it is. There were also conversations around the sabotage, attacks, and the freedom and the constitutionally guaranteed right of Nigerians to peaceful protest. I think we should also uphold that. Now, with the Dangote and Engineer Farouk Ahmed story, yesterday when we talked about it, we had said that it would perhaps put a spotlight on civil servants or political appointees or public office holders and how, what they're spending commensurate to how much money they're earning. We have spoken a lot of times as to the genesis of this conversation between the NMDPRA and the Dangote refinery. Some might say, oh, this is blackmail, or Dangote is using blackmail, or he's fighting dirty. But I'll say this on as I conclude. It is a fight for survival. He has talked about how difficult it has been engaging with the regulatory authorities and how in some instances they have made working and his business quite difficult. And so with the same principle as we talk about corrupt politicians when they say it's a witch hunt, if he is guilty, the most important thing is an investigation ought to be instituted, and if found guilty, he should face the full wrath of the law.